which, let's talk about that game for a little bit, right? So you got
Which
a hell of getting there. Hold your roll there. So if we go to this Red River Showdown,
screen on your ass,
come on, you know where I live. So if we talk about this Red River Showdown, Trevor, I know you were there, and Clint and I were watching it too. What did we see from OU today? I mean, we had a shoe-in for Heisman winner go down, which was again week in, week out. We thought it was coming at some point. You got the crowd, yelling for our boy Caleb Williams. So what did we see today, Trevor, that would make you say, hey, this is a top 4 team in the country, and then where does it go from here?
I tell you what, man, I prefaced it at the beginning of the show, but an incredible atmosphere there at the Cotton Bowl, as it always is, but heightened, right? We're coming off of a COVID year. The state fair is back. There's corn dogs and fried everything flying around. Bryce, I know you were out there with your family the other week.
Yep.
Just even before you got into the stadium, there's just that aura, right? You got 2 very storied programs, a lot of trash talking going on. And so we walk into the stadium, you see the split right down the middle, right? Half burnt orange, half crimson. And boom, first play of the game, 75 yards on the smoke screen. Jaw hits the floor. Next thing, 3 and out, boom, block punt, recovered for not for a touchdown, but essentially right there on the 3-yard line, they punch it in. 14-0 with, I think, over 13 minutes left in the first quarter. Texas comes out. They score 28 points in that first quarter. And I'm sitting here telling all the people that I went with and that I'm sitting with, one of these teams came to play today and they've got a little, a little juice to them, and the other absolutely does not. I was referring to the team that does not as Oklahoma at the time, obviously, and Texas came out firing, right? At the end of the game, all I hear now is Texas didn't have any juice. OU came to play. It was you could write a book on the story of that game and the ups and downs. But like we mentioned, my toast of the day, Caleb Williams coming in to replace what we all talked about at the beginning of the year as the front runner for the Heisman Trophy, the guy that if he just honestly manages the game and plays and makes some of these crazy throws like he normally does, he's going to be in New York City. Now, he may not be starting another college football game this year because this young man came in and just battled and battled and battled. And it was a full team approach. I thought Lincoln Riley did a great job throwing some wrinkles in there. You saw him get some confidence towards the end of the game with Caleb in there, which I liked seeing. I know there was communication between those 2 guys because he's not the full-time starter, right? Hey, this is something we put in the game plan for Spencer. Do you like it? Do you not? And then you see a really gutsy call. It's a must-have 2-point conversion in the ball game. He pulls Caleb Williams back out, puts number 7, Spencer Rattler, back in there, and he throws a really, really nice pass to Drake Stoops, son of Bob Stoops, there to get that 2-point conversion, just because he had gotten all the reps at that play. Again, you could write an absolute story on this game, but probably, if not the best sporting event I've ever been a part of in person. Just unbelievable, guys.
Trev, we got to hit on a little something, though, man. I mean, you said Spencer Rattler may have taken his last snap at quarterback at OU. Hell, I don't know how he hadn't at this point in time. I mean, but let's address that, man. Is Spencer Rattler done as the quarterback at the University of Oklahoma?
Man, that's been the conversation here for the past 5 hours or so. 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we're saying, hey, his last pass is going to be the last game of this year because he's going to go number 1 in the draft, right? Now we are literally sitting here saying, should we check the portal? Is he in there tonight? Is he going to be in there on Monday? What are the conversations going on internally, right? I mean, Spencer Rattler is a phenomenal football player. But how could you not give the reins to Caleb Williams next week against TCU after that performance? I feel for Lincoln Riley and the staff because that's a huge decision to make. Because one way or the other, you kind of you're at a fork in the road, right? You got to pick one and roll with it, and you don't want to make the wrong decision.
Trevor, look, Bryce, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? And that's the topic of the night, guys. I mean, that's the topic of the day in college football is, yes, OU made an unbelievable comeback and beat the University of Texas in one of the biggest football games of every single college football season. Any way you slice it. Doesn't matter the records. That game right there is must-see TV. And it was great that OU came back. But unfortunately, or fortunately, it's overshadowed with who's going to be the quarterback moving forward at the University of Oklahoma. Bryce, a little different lens you're looking through. There's no former player for either school. What's your thoughts on that in particular?
Well, I mean, shit, man. Trevor and I have been talking about this almost every week that we have our podcast. Is there is and you said it best, 2 weeks ago, that expectations are put on you for a reason. If you don't have expectations, no one's talking about you. And so for really both, Spencer Rattler and Lincoln Riley, it's been this conversation for the last 6 weeks of, they're winning, but at the same time, they're not winning the way they need to be winning. And a lot of that sits, as we all know, kind of right on our shoulders. And, Spencer Rattler, from what Lincoln said on the field today, coming out of half, it's a turnover problem. And it has been a turnover problem. But what was interesting about today, that I thought, is that Caleb came out with a smile on his face, and it was just different. There was a different energy. There was a different moxie about who he was in that huddle for them, to where, to Trevor's question, I think it's a no-brainer. I think Caleb Williams is your guy. And I don't think now you don't need pressure from fans to sit there and be like, man, you got to play, you got to pick it up. We saw it in Manhattan last week, not the Manhattan, in the Northeast, Manhattan in Kansas. When they went down to Kansas State. And what I really wanted to see from Spencer was a little bit more juice, a little bit more sense of urgency to say, hey, man, I'm your guy, and this is why. I really didn't see it then. He's got a hell of an arm talent. I mean, it's dripping off of him. But at the same time, as we all know, too, in the quarterback room, there's so much more to being a captain, a leader, executing in that huddle, especially on that side of the ball, than just arm talent alone. The interesting part, again, kind of what I was alluding to before, but they went heavy on the run when Caleb came in a little bit. And Kennedy Brooks is a guy that needs to be getting 20 plus carries a game. And that was another thing that we had talked about in our podcast, that where is this front five that just mauls people? Where are these cats that are getting 250 plus yards on the ground every week? Whether they were putting too much on Spencer, or they couldn't ever get to the run because they were always playing down, who knows? What we do know is that Caleb is that guy to sit there and sling that ball off his back foot, 60 yards. He can take a 4th and 1, 66 yards to the house, cold, which, by the way, toast to that dude, because as we all know, coming off the bench is hard enough when your legs are cold and you just warmed up for 30 minutes and then you just sat there for another 30 minutes and you got to go run 66 yards. But what he brought was just a different type of energy, a smile, a juice to his face. And so I think it's a no-brainer. He needs to be in the transfer portal, which you alluded to. I saw that your tweet had a little retweet too, but Jimbo Fisher is going to be like, hey man, I don't need him. I don't need him. What would be interesting if my man James Franklin is up there calling him right now.
So I've got a question here for both you guys. I get around the excitement of the game, how he came in and was able to do that. And obviously if Lincoln had the confidence to go and put him in the game, he's obviously shown out in practice. And this isn't just some crazy decision on a limb, right? That being said, with the crazy football season we've had so far, obviously Alabama's just going down to, by all intents and purposes, a very kind of pedestrian A&M team this year. You've got Spencer Rattler, who's led the team to an undefeated season thus far, and he's got a history of playing really good football. Do you throw him to the curb that quickly? I get it. He had a pick, and then he had a really bad, kind of sack strip fumble. Do you kick him to the curb that quickly? I mean, I know that, again, the excitement around it seems like a no-brainer, but is it a no-brainer?
Hey, for me, For me, Trev, it's no question. I mean, look, here's the deal. Here's what we can sit around here because we've all been there, and we want to be given the benefit of the doubt. We want to be given every opportunity. But I'm gonna tell you, man, when you're Lincoln Riley and you stack up 5-star quarterback after 5-star quarterback after 5-star quarterback, all of those guys can physically throw the football, man. They can physically run, extend plays, make all the big throws, drop the arm slot, and do all these sexy things. They can all do that, man. And so when I look at it, I'm like, Lincoln Riley, you stack these guys up. The one thing you can do, the one thing you have to do is you have to acknowledge when one guy has the ability to make the 10 guys in the huddle around him better. When he steps in the huddle and those 10 guys raise their level of play, I don't care if it's the running back in the running game or the offensive line or Mims, the receiver, whoever it is, it was blatantly obvious today that when that kid stepped in the huddle, the 10 guys around him played better. And I'll be honest with you, Trev, I ain't real sure that the 11 on defense didn't play better as well. They turned around and shut out University of Texas. So if you're going to be the coach that's paid millions of dollars and you're going to go out there and you're going to recruit 5-star after 5-star after 5-star, then your ass better have the guts to go in there and go, hey, sorry, man, I know this sucks. Spencer, you were my guy. You did a good job, but the kid behind you is better. You owe that to your football team to put the best guy on the field. And if Caleb Williams is that guy, which I think today he proved he was that guy, then you got to make that decision. It sucks. Us three don't have to make it, but we ain't getting paid damn near $10 million by the University of Oklahoma either.
I was about to say, hey, if you're making that kind of money, you every once in a while you got to make those decisions. It's not just a pretty face, right?
Yeah,
I agree with you. I agree.
And that's all he's called to do. That's all he's called to do is win. And Clint said my entire point is it's you have to look at the locker room as a whole. Who makes our guys play better? Who elevates our squad? And you kind of see it on the sideline, man. When it just from week 1 to week 6, there's very few guys that go pat 7 on the back now. You can just tell when and that's a hard part about life, man. And life doesn't give you opportunities. You don't get owed anything in life. Just like football shouldn't owe you anything because you're 6-0. If you're barely getting by and there's a kid that's better to where you actually put up 662 yards offense. What in the our podcast, Trevor? When's the last time we said, man, you put up 500 yards? And we just haven't said that. So to me, this is our guy. But I will say this too, because we're all on this podcast as QBs, man. Being a backup is tough. It's hard to be engaged when there's only one dude out there, and that's what people don't understand. Is there's a lot of work that we do kind of by ourselves. Well, most of us. Clint, you were just natural talent, so it didn't matter to you. But to the rest of us, people and pedestrians over here, we had to work for it. But anyways, it's a highly competitive room. There's only one guy out there. How you stay engaged mentally and prepare yourself when you're not the guy is going to separate when you actually do get that chance. And I thought, kind of going into this next game here, we had Caleb Williams, who was prepared, whether athletically, gifted and whatever else. But then we also, saw a cat at Penn State that I just don't think was prepared enough, and it really sucks. So let's transition to the Penn State Iowa game. At this point, it's kind of tough. So I hope Sean Clifford comes back because Taquan Robinson, had himself a pretty rough day out there on the field. But again, preparing yourself for these moments. Tom Brady's the best example. You only get one opportunity. You don't know when that is. And so, Trevor, talk to me a little bit about what that's like to come off the bench, have you don't get hey, I think you might come up here this next quarter. So go ahead and start mentally preparing yourself. You never really know, man, what's it like for Taquan Robinson in this kind of situation, in this hostile environment, going against number 3 Iowa.
Yeah, it's an interesting place to be. To your point, Bryce, hey, mental reps, some people can sit back and take mental reps, which I did a lot when I was a backup, but it's just not the same as getting the reps throughout practice and actually having a feel on any given play you put in the game plan, right? Hey, we got a jet sweep coming this way. Sure, you can sit back there and simulate it while the starter's up front, getting the timing down. well, you better snap that ball at the right point, as that guy's coming across. I had a unique situation in my career, college career, where I legitimately sat in every seat in the quarterback room. I was the young guy, redshirting, never going to play. I was the young guy who was the starter, looking over my shoulder because we were kind of doing the 2 QB system. I was the backup. I got beat out. I transferred. I was the guy again. I mean, I have literally sat in every seat that a quarterback can sit in. And it is very, very tough from a motivation standpoint to go out to practice every day and be ready to play. And then to your point, Bryce, come into a game, it can go one of 2 ways. A lot of it, to be quite honest, at least for me, rides on that adrenaline. Hey, you hop in there and it's kind of a whirlwind and you get that first pass under your belt and boom, you're rolling. Kind of like Caleb did. He broke that long run and got that touchdown, and then he was just rolling from there. The same thing didn't happen up here, in Iowa City this weekend. You come in, you're a little bit timid. You probably didn't study as hard as you should have because Sean Clifford's the guy, and he's going to go up here and he's going to lead us to a victory. And I think there was just a lack of attention to detail in preparation this week to come in when your time is called to come in and try and win a football game, right?